So the theme of this talk is designing for well-being. So what does well-being mean? We kind of had a little bit of a chat about it when we were doing our name tags, trying to think about how we create well-being for ourselves. But it's the state of being comfortable, healthy or happy. So that is the theme of the talks tonight. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit. I'm from Sticky Design Studio. My name's Jax Wechsler, for those of you that don't know me. I kind of put this little shindig event on as well. I'll be talking a little bit about some of the work that I've been doing with Family and Community Services in the Northern Rivers region. My talk is about having impact, and I'm going to present a couple of projects that I've done with different groups in the Northern Rivers region. It's known as the Rainbow region. Who's familiar with the area? It's a really beautiful place. It's very fortunate to be able to work from there. Actually, the videos downstairs were all taken, if you saw any of the stuff on the wall, that was all taken a few weeks ago when I was up there. So, Sticky Design Studio, that's my consultancy, and we're passionate about co-creating improved futures for people and the planet. We lead CoDesign initiatives with a focus on building human-centred design capability, supporting organisations to deliver more person-centred outcomes. So I'm really passionate about capability building, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. Have you guys heard about the NDIS? That's being rolled out soon, and it gives people more power of how they spend their funding. So the DPA has been around for about 5 years, and this program was looking at how we might improve it. So it was a capability building program. I've just run another one, which is looking at leaving care. So leaving care is some children, when they're in the child protection system, they're under the parental. The minister is their parental guardian, and so when they leave care at 18, they have to become an adult, so they don't get funding anymore, and it's a pretty hard time. So the project was looking at how can we improve leaving care processes for kids with disability, because there's a lot of challenges in that space at the moment. They have to move to ADIC, which is another group, who's actually going to be defunded and lost in the next 12 months. There's a lot of change going on. It's a challenging area. So, the objects of design are changing, and the new role of the designer as connectors and facilitators, as quality producers, as visualisers, as visionaries and future builders or co-producers, designers as promoters of new business models, designers as catalysers of change. Who sees themselves as a change agent? Design is an awesome way to do that. Because we want to have impact. Well, I want to have impact. And I spent a lot of years being a designer, and now I want to spend my practice on doing things that have the most impact that's possible. The thing about impact, it's very collaborative. It involves lots of people. You can't have impact on your own. And as a designer, I've only got 2 hands, so I can only really do one project at a time. But if I can teach others how to do design and build design capability within organisations, I can have massive impact. What does that mean? So for me, I was thinking a lot about it. Impact is about broad empathy. It's about shaping thinking, fostering collaboration, supporting and empowering people, and persuading change. And the way that you do this is through building capability. I'm interested in wicked problems. Has anyone heard of the term a wicked problem? Wicked problem is a social or cultural problem that is difficult or impossible to solve for as many as 4 reasons. There's actually 10 reasons for wicked problems, but I didn't want to bore you with that sort of theory. Incomplete or contradictory knowledge, the number of people and opinions involved, the large economic burden, and the interconnected nature of these problems with other problems. So these problems are wicked. They're very, very hard to solve. Has anyone seen this design squiggle before? We use this a lot to talk about the design process, and we sort of, at the beginning of the design process, we're what we call the fuzzy front end. It's all a bit sort of messy in there. And as we go through iterative cycles and we prototype and we test and we validate our research and make things, we get into a sort of cycle and some focus. I did a thesis a little while ago, and I wasn't convinced about this model because I thought that design doesn't focus enough on implementation. And as designers, we go and we go through the fuzzy front end and we go to an organisation, here you go, here's this great shiny thing that you need to do, here's this great service that you have to do where you have to get all your staff on board on this new vision to go and do this new great thing, and it doesn't work. And I've seen so many beautifully produced design objects in lots of different organisations sit on the shelf and no one does anything with them. So I think there's a bit of a gap there. But the thing is, when you look at wicked problems, it's even more complicated because wicked problems have multiple solutions. So how can you work with implementation in a wicked problem? That's an even harder question. The thing about social design, it lives in the messy space in between. So we have an intended experience that happens through strategy and policy, and then we have implementation, the actual experience. But in between that gap, it's really, really messy. It involves so many different people and a lot of persuasion, a lot of communication, and it's a pretty messy place. I think it's a really fun place, but it's not without its challenges. See, the thing is that everyone designs who devises courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. Okay? That's like a quote about design from a scholar. The thing is that if we can train, the more people we can train to be more person-centred, the better actual outcomes we will have. So who's seen this kind of concept before? Innovative services require deep understanding of stakeholders. If you go to SlideShare and you put up like customer experience or design thinking, you'll see something like this. It's a very common idea. But I'd like to take this a step further. I think that deep understanding of stakeholders facilitates person-centred organisational change. We need to involve people. The people that are, using your service, but also the people that deliver your service and all the partners that might be involved. So in complex problems, there's lots of different people that need to work together, lots of different agencies and different people that need to collaborate. So it's really, designers and social problems are really people problems. I believe that we can have impact by enabling others to do their work. So I've come up with this concept of scaffolds. As a designer, I want to create scaffolds for people to do their work. So a scaffold is a platform that holds people while they do things. So that's a question that I constantly ask myself. What scaffolds can I deliver to this organisation to get them to do their work? I've come up with this concept of a sticky object. So my agency is called Sticky Design Studio, and this is kind of the basis of it. Some people think it's because we use a lot of post-it notes, but it's not. So what's a sticky object? It's an engaging, visual, research-derived, people-centred object that make change stick, okay? Something to get your head around. So if you think about organisations, they're comprised of lots of different communities. So those communities could be different teams, they could be other sorts of communities that happen to work together, but there's lots of communities. And what we need is objects that sit in the middle of communities. There's a theory called boundary objects. I won't go into too much academic stuff because even though we're at a uni, it's probably not what you're here for. But really the idea of sticky objects is providing the organisation with objects that help different communities work together, okay? So sticky objects, they're things to think with, they're things to talk with, they're there to communicate insights, they're there to share vision, they're there to facilitate broad empathy, and they're there to persuade change. Now the thing about sticky objects, we're designers, we know how to make stuff stick. We've been doing that in advertising for forever. But why can't we use these same skills in visualisation to help make change stick within organisations? Capability building. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I want to feed people to be able to do design and make positive change. That's why I'm really focused on capability building. So this is my process. I run programs with organisations. I have 5 steps. Begin with a question, explicate assumptions, do research with people in context, define frameworks, prototype interactions with people, learn and refine. I will talk you through how I apply this process on a recent project. This was the project. How might we improve leaving care processes for young people with disabilities? One of the first things we did, we ran a kick-off meeting and we mapped the stakeholders, and we asked, who is affected by or who can affect the service? A very important question if you want to make change happen. It's not just about the client or the customer or the end user. You need to think about the organisation. Who's going to support this thing? Whose advocacy do you need? Whose buy-in do you need to make this thing happen? Very important question. The next thing I do research. I do a research training day where I teach groups to do design research, and I give them some tools. So one being an empathy map. We also in this workshop we focus on explicating assumptions. Okay, so I train them to do research, and then I get them to use the tools with each other. Sometimes we invite external participants to come and do this program this day as well, so that we're actually applying the research tools and understanding what they think the problems are. Okay, I get them, on the left you'll see these personas. I have very mixed feelings about personas. I think they're really good tools, but they can be misused. I see that a lot. But as a way of explicating assumptions, personas are excellent. So for those of you that don't know what they are, they're profiles that we make up of people. So in this particular case, we thought about different young people, and we came up as a group what we thought their problems are, what we think their needs are, how we think we can make things better. So from there, we were able to understand, create some hypotheses and some assumptions. And then we could go out and take those assumptions and test them. And that has huge value for the organisation, because even if nothing else happens, at least you're able to come back and say, hey, you thought this, but we actually found that. And that's in itself a really valuable exercise, even if they don't believe in all this kind of design thinking stuff. On the bottom right are some inspiration cards, and I'll tell you a little story about how I use those and why I think they're really valuable. So after that, I've trained up these people from the organisation to do research. And we actually do a lot of research ourselves because we are trained and we know what we're doing. But they also come and do research. So for this project, we did 16 qualitative research interviews. We got to drive all the way around the area, which was amazing. And we hired a little car and it was really fun. And the people who were in the project team, there were 7 people in the project team, they also did interviews. So another tool that I gave them was storyboarding. So this is a storyboard. So what we do, we explicate our assumptions, and then together we create a research, I can't think what the term is, research questions or research focus. So we're like, right, you're going to go speak to so-and-so. What do we need to know? What do we need to know from this person? What do we need to know from that person? So when they leave, they have a research focus. They know what they're going to go ask. I give them artifacts like storyboards, personas, different templates for them to fill out. I call them things to hang their data, their skeletons to hang their data from. And they bring those skeletons back to me. And then together, I'll tell you that in a sec, we do collaborative research, synthesis and storytelling. So we got this great house in Ballina with a great basement, and the people who were doing the research came and we all spent 2 days together talking about what we've learned and using some frameworks and some skeletons to hang your data from. But the inspiration cards, I love these cards. They're awesome. So I actually create them per project. So they help people express themselves. I use them to talk about experiences. These cards came from the DPA project, the video I showed you first, the direct payment agreement. And one of the people who ran this interview shared this great story where the guy, he's an amazing guy, he's got Parkinson's disease, he's uber intelligent, and he came for all the 2 days of the workshop and was in a lot of pain but really keen to be involved. Now, he took this card, and the worker thought that he took the card because, he's got DPA now, we've given him a hand to climb up his mountain. But no. The reason he took that card is because he's been on DPA for 5 years. He's nutted the system out. With DPA, you have to set up like your tax and you have to do workers' compensation and you become a business entity, which is quite a big learning curve for most people. So because this guy, his name's Zai, he did all of these, he wanted to reach down and help others. So one of the outcomes of that co-design workshop was the concept of a super user. And at the end, I'll show you what happened with some of these ideas. I just wanted to share that story. Another thing I do, I run diary studies or sensitization exercises. So the people that come to the co-design session, I get them to do some activities on their own so I can understand a little bit more about them. But it also helps them sensitize them to the problem so that they come with kind of juicy ideas. But it also helps us understand more about who's coming. So it's kind of got a dual benefit. So these are some photos taken by a young woman who lives in a residential care facility. So this was just some of her photos that she sent us. Alright, so frameworks to think with. So there's a journey map up on the wall. We use these skeletons as frameworks for conversation. So a journey map is thinking about interactions different people have with an organisation or a service over time. So we use this as a framework when we're doing our analysis and we look at the stories and we go, right, what happened to so-and-so? What was their journey like? Okay, what happened to so-and-so? And we use lots of post-it notes and we start seeing themes emerge. So that's one sort of framework. Another framework we used on this project, which was really great, and Dan actually put me onto it, was the theory of change. So we took that model, and the theory of change is a really interesting model where you look at outcomes and you look at behaviours and you look at interactions, okay? So your current interactions are causing certain behaviours which are causing probably not great outcomes. And if you think about the outcomes you want to have, what behaviours do you need to create to inform those? And what interactions can we design to create those behaviours? So it's really just a tool to think with. And then we ran a co-design workshop where we invited young people and carers. Okay. So that's all good and well, and we had 7 staff come along and get fuzzy about design thinking. So what? What could happen now? And what often happens after workshops? How many of you go to workshops and it's all good and fun and then you leave? And that's it. And that happens a lot, and I'm not really a fan of that style of workshop, as some people know. I'm really into change. I want to persuade change. I want to change people's thinking. I want to get them to be more person-centred and understand who are the different players in the service ecosystem and how can we work together, how can we work better together. So persuading change is a huge thing for me. In that first activity, which is who can affect and who is affected by it, we identify the key people we need to persuade to make change happen. And then I create what I call persuasive artifacts. Sometimes they're videos, sometimes they're visuals, sometimes they're stories, and sometimes they're quotes. This is just one page on a report. Some of the things we found of a carer, she wasn't we spoke to about 5 carers, so this was just a couple of the key quotes. We delivered a 50-page, with lots of visualizations, report document that had all of the findings and details, but these were just kind of the high-level sticky ones. We also created some more personas. Just let me say, I'm not a huge fan of personas that have no research. I'm not a huge fan of personas that are supposedly synthesized either, unless it's done well, and I rarely see it done well. We're using personas to tell stories, okay? So this is actually a person's story. So this is Kyle, and Kyle has this disability where his bones break very easily. He's very, very fragile. He's in a wheelchair, but he's an uber intelligent guy, totally onto it, totally sociable. He's studying media communications. He's really into gaming and has his own YouTube channel where he rates games. Very capable young man. He has a disability, okay? So this was just Kyle's story. His story wasn't that bad, but there was a couple of others that weren't so great. And one story was really not good, and then we had the carers version of that story and we had the caseworkers version of that story. So it painted a really nice picture of things that are actually happening. And these are being fed up the chain at the moment. Another thing, journey maps, you guys have probably used them. In this context, we use a swim lane, so we thought about who were the different players in the ecosystem. They're carers, young people, workers and NGOs. We looked at the phases, we looked at the outcome, and then we looked at different, things that are going on and what opportunities there may be. So it's a very high-level version of the report. Okay, This is a very quick video, and now I'm flipping back to the DPA project, the original project. Because I was up there for the Leaving Care project, I went and popped into the DPA team, and I was like, how are you guys going? What's happened? Okay, I was so happy. I left there beaming because the stuff that we did is actually happening. And I've got a very short video, it's 1.5 minutes, of two of the ladies who were involved in that program talking about the benefits of co-design and what's actually happened since the workshop.
Personally, I think that before the workshop, the co-design workshop, I was really outcome driven, and I found that personally I took away an understanding that I need to sort of take a step back and really give others an opportunity to have input to ensure that the outcome is the best possible outcome. So one of the things that came out of the workshop was a budget report tool, which we identified was a problem, and we'd come up with a fairly basic prototype that was really looking at solving things from our perspective. But the co-design workshop allowed us to get feedback directly from clients about the problems that they were having with that budgeting and reporting process as well. And we were then able to come back and incorporate all those suggestions in and really ensure that the prototype was something that was going to be able to value add not just for ADAC staff but also for clients and people who are actually going to be able to use it. And it's been much more successful and much more well received as a result.
That's the whole beauty of the co-design, is it's about going back to the participants to really check in with them and see whether things work for them, because we are not the experts in this domain. We really acknowledge that. For the new people coming in, I think a really good thing that has come out of this is the development of a peer network. And we're able to link people to people who have really good experience in doing the DPA, and so many of the participants have been really supportive of each other and saying, I don't mind being a person that you can call and ask me questions to. So that really helps this process for people who are coming new into the direct payment agreement.
Yeah, so that was that community, the prototypes, and also a resource kit that we co-designed in the workshop, looking at the different needs that the DPA participants would have over time and how we could better support them, and they're actually trialling that now. This only happened in April, it's now August, they're doing stuff. I'm really excited. So I'm going to leave you with a question. How can you support person-centred innovation and its associated organisational change in your organisation? Okay, so how can you think in scaffolds? How can you support others? Because it's only by making the whole organisation person-centred that we're going to get real change. Thank you.